It is November here. And if you have been paying attention to the news in Vancouver about the real estate market, you're seeing it's a buyer's market. And that may be true in some areas. Prices are down on average about 4 to 5% since last year. We've had continuous rate drops, and yet sales are down about 14% year over year. Sometimes market stats don't tell the whole picture, though. So, in this update, I'm going to break down the stats, what I'm seeing in the market, and at the end, I'm going to share some real life stories of clients that I'm helping right now and some lessons to pass along to you if you're considering making a move in the next few months. If you want to know everything there is about real estate in Vancouver, subscribe below. Tap the bell to be first to hear what's going on in the current market. My name is Megan Becker. I'm a local realtor. My team and I get calls every day from people looking to make moves in the greater Vancouver area. So if you're considering making a move, give me a call. All my info is in the description box below. So let's get into it. The October numbers are out. I want to break them down a little bit here, and I've actually prepared for you guys a little slideshow here. It's not very fancy, but I find when I'm talking about numbers or trying to take in information, it's helpful to have some visual here. So let me know in the comments. Do you like the slides? Maybe you're not impressed with the lack of like animation in the slides, but they're very basic. But they give some good info here and some numbers that you can follow along with. So here are the numbers. So sales in October were just over 2,000. We're sitting at 2,255, which is, like I said, down 14% year over year. Listings, or the number of inventory, we're sitting at just over 16,000, which is up 13% year over year. And then if we look at the sales to active listing ratio, we're sitting at, for detached properties, 11%. That's definitely leaning in a buyer's market. And then attached, so your townhome, duplex, row homes, we're sitting at 18%, and then apartments at 16%. So you can see there, and then we've got the benchmark sale price. So I'm not going to read all of the numbers. That's why I included them on the screen, so you don't have to just listen to me read out random numbers here. But I know for most people, they want to know like what these numbers mean. And like I mentioned, we're down 4 to 5% in all categories year over year. But despite the numbers, we're still seeing multiple offers, which is really interesting in this market. And the reason why I wanted to share this, I wanted to share a couple examples here that every single morning, one of my go-tos is I jump on the MLS, I look at all the new properties in my area, and I look at all the new sales. So I jumped on that. I did that this morning. So a couple properties that I saw that just sold, they were in multiples. This was actually a great deal here. This was a 1-bed plus den. It was a 508 square foot condo in a concrete tower in the West End. It had in-suite washer dryer, and it sold in multiples for $487,500. That's a great deal. Concrete tower, West End, and there's in-suite washer dryer for under $500,000. That's a big deal. Typically, the conversation that I have with clients when they're under that $500,000 budget, if you're looking anywhere in Vancouver, we're looking at older buildings, wood frame, no in-suite washer and dryer. And so that was a great property. Whoever purchased that wasn't my client, but again, I was just on the MLS and saw that one. Another one. This was a duplex, a 3-bed, 4-bath duplex, just under 1,700 square feet in Arbutus, just off of McDonald and 19th there. It sold in multiples for $2.35 million. So we're still getting multiples despite the slower sales here. And then I had the opportunity of representing some clients. The deal is not officially firm yet, so I'm not going to share a ton of details, but we were just in a multiple offer last week. The rescission is tonight, so I'll update you a little bit more details when that has officially gone firm. We were in multiples. We were 1 out of 12 offers here. And we actually won not because we were the highest price, but because we had strategically put an offer together where some of the terms that we had were just better than the other offers. And that's what really helped us win, which in situation where you need to be competitive, it's not always price. Price is a big factor. And even when I had the conversation with this listing agent, I said, what's most important to the seller? Is it number? Is it dates? Is there anything else that's important? She said numbers, 100% numbers. But when it actually came down to it, there was an offer higher than ours that she did disclose to us, but we were the chosen one because of some other terms that we had put into the offer there. And what I wanted to share with you here is there's still areas, despite the numbers, we're still seeing multiple offers. And so you must be thinking, well, do stats lie? Well, not really. Stats are an average of what's going on. But they don't tell the whole picture, is what I'm trying to say here. So here's a handful of areas with year-over-year increase in sales. Actually, this is a typo over. It's not a year-over-year increase in sales. It's a year-over-year increase in benchmark sale price. So if we're looking in the detached segment, North Vancouver and then Squamish. Squamish, single-family homes are up 9% year-over-year. So if you bought in Squamish year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you timed that very, very well. And then if we're looking in the city of Vancouver, in Vancouver West, these are all the areas here. If we're looking at Mount Pleasant West, we're up 12% year over year. Kitsilano, we're up 10% year over year. And then if we're looking on Vancouver East, areas like Hastings, Mount Pleasant East, and then Strathcona, those areas are all up year over year. And then if we look down into the attached segment, not a ton of areas here and not a huge increase, but Burnaby, South, Coquitlam are up 1%. Port Coquitlam's up 2% year over year. And Pitt Meadows is up slightly with 0.4% year over year in the townhome duplex segment. And no other areas are up. Every other area, it has gone down year over year. And then if we look at the apartments, an even smaller segment here. But if you have a property to sell in either False Creek or the West End, you are sitting better than a lot of the other areas. False Creek is up very slightly, 0.2% year over year. And then the West End, we're up 1% year over year. So we still have these little pockets that are doing very, very well. So if you're purchasing in those areas, you might be facing what some of my clients have been facing is these bidding wars, these multiple offer scenarios, because these are the attractive areas. If you are a seller in these areas, it might be time for a conversation. And it might be a great opportunity for you to sell because especially Mount Pleasant, we've seen in the single family segment, we've seen quite of an increase here. And so what do I want to share next is I think when I hear other realtors share all the stats and everything what's going on in the market, my biggest question is like, what does that mean to me? Like if I was looking at making a move right now, buying, selling, or even considering it, how does this impact me and what are some of the things that I want to consider? So here's some lessons that I can share with you from the last month and a bit of helping clients here. Number one is that list price does not equal value. And that is a conversation I've had with multiple clients on both buying and selling side. My clients that I helped that were in this multiple offer, the one of 12 situation, when we initially looked at this property, I did an analysis to figure out, okay, where are they priced? Where are similar properties selling for? What is our offer strategy to put together a really competitive offer? And when I initially did that, I said they're priced really aggressively. And I said, if you like everything similar is selling around this amount. And I had that with a disclaimer. I said, historical sales will tell us a piece of the information, but what I can't tell you in a multiple offer is how bad somebody else is going to want this property. And so you need to factor that in because this was a personal residence for them. And so I said, if you're purchasing this property anywhere in this range, and I've given a range of number, I said, you're doing pretty well. I said, anything above and beyond that, I can't, that is I want this type of property here. And again, at the end of the day, we're looking for a while, and that's the thing. So many people are like, I don't want to overpay for a property. I don't want to overpay. And you have price is a huge factor. Let's be real. I'm not naive to that by any means, but you need to look at your family situation. What does your situation entail? Are you on any timelines? Is there like a proximity that you need to be near? Is there a timeline of when you need to be out of your place into a new place? Is there a school catchment that you want to be in? Like, there's all of these different factors that factor in, maybe not as much as price, but they're all things that you need to consider in this decision. And so I said, I can give you objective information, and I want you to do with that what you need to do. And then ultimately, your offer price needs to be predicated on taking in the objective information that I gave you, but also factoring all of those other criteria. And for some people that don't need to move and they're not in a hurry, those criteria are very, very low, and it is price is a high. And that's why every situation is a little bit different, and my role is to guide and give you the objective information and help you weigh out all of the other factors and really figure out what the best decision is for you. And so I said, anyways, going back to that, if we pay anywhere between this and this amount, you're doing pretty good for value. And that's exactly what we did. We ended up arriving in that range that I set. And again, we were one of 12 offers. We went quite a bit over their list price. And again, that just proves that point that list price does not equal value. All of the similar properties, even in this like competitive multiple offer situation, they ended up paying very similar to what similar properties were selling for anyways. And then on the selling side, the same lesson, list price does not equal value. It's a conversation I have when I sit down with my sellers before we go to market. I said, list price does not equal sale price. List price, think about list price as an invitation. It's an invitation for someone to come look at your home. Let's just say hypothetically, your home is roughly valued around 2 million. Let's say we price your home at $1. We're going to get a lot of eyeballs. It's like an auction. We're going to get a ton of eyeballs. People are going to bid $10 and they're going to bid $20 and up and up and up. We're going to get a lot of eyeballs there. But let's say on the flip side, we list your property for $10 million. Nobody's going to even look at it. And so we're not going to sell at 10 million. We're not going to sell at $1. So think about it as an invitation, and the market will pair that with my marketing strategy. And this is the conversation I have with my sellers. Pair that with marketing strategy is we're going to get you the best sale price, but we're going to figure out what listing strategy is best. There's not a one size fits all listing strategy for a certain property. It depends on multiple things. And that's my conversation with my sellers, is that we determine this together. I'm not the driver. You're the pilot. I'm air traffic control. I'm going to give you all of this information, but you are driving the plane. I'm going to give you all the information so you can make the best decision here. And so that leads us into the second lesson here, is that bidding wars do not mean that you're necessarily overpaying. And I go back to my client in this first example. If you understand strategy around a bidding war, it's not as stressful as a lot of people think. I think the misconception is it's this emotional, like we're driving up the price and we're so emotionally involved and we're way over budget and we're spending way too much. That's the last thing that I want. If I know that I'm going to be in a multiple offer situation with clients, I sit down then with them and prepare them. We figured out a budget, we figured out a strategy, and we're able to put together a competitive offer to protect your interest. And that's this deal that I put together last week. And it was, a little challenging to put together because we were in a very competitive situation. And there's a balance of, typically in a multiple offer situation, it's like, give the seller what they want and our offer will win. And that's all well and good. But my fiduciary duty is to protect my clients. And so it's a balance of, yes, giving the seller what they want, but also being able to protect my buyers and make sure that they, yes, they have a competitive offer, but their interests and their financial investment are also very well protected. And that's what I was able to strategically put together. And that's what I can help, all of my other clients with when we are in a multiple. And I've been successful, in winning multiple offers with clients, and I've been in a handful this year in this slow market. um, and then the last lesson here that I'll share is that great properties are always going to be valuable. And you can see that in these examples that I've shared. Some of these properties that have gone super fast, short days on market, multiple offers, and gotten really great prices. And they're always going to be valuable. I think the properties that we're seeing accumulate on the MLS right now that are just sitting there, there's something about them. Maybe not, if it's condo, maybe not a great floor plan, maybe not a great area, maybe it's on a busy road. Whatever. There's something about it that's like, well, if I always say, when you're purchasing your first property, you're not going to check every single box on your list. But right now we have the ability to be a little picky. And those properties that are not 10s out of 10s, maybe not even 8 out of 10s, a lot of times those are the ones that we're seeing just sitting on the market right now. But a really great property, a really great floor plan, desirable area, great building, they're always going to be valuable. And so when you are looking, yes, maybe it is a buyer's market right now, but don't just be so quick to get into the market that you surpass looking at something that, could hurt your resale on the back end. I was looking at a property today, just on the MLS, and it was a 2-bedroom. And there's certain things that I look for when I'm looking at floor plans for a 2-bedroom. One of the things I like, for the most part, I like bedrooms on opposite sides for resale and just for privacy, especially if you're potentially going to rent it out. Tenants like opposite sides. The other thing I like, when the secondary bedroom has direct access to the bathroom without having to go through the living space. I like balconies, certain views, unobstructed views, having that outdoor space, having certain dimensions, things like that. And it checked all of these boxes, but the kitchen and dining area had no window. And I thought that was really weird. The first thing I looked at was the photos. I was like, kitchen seems weird. Something's off about this. And so I kept flipping through the photos, and then I realized, like, oh, okay, there's no window in the kitchen or dining room. And that would be a deal breaker for me. And I know that's a deal breaker for a lot of buyers. And so, make sure that you are working with a realtor that understands floor plans, that, yes, I make my money by selling houses, but what I change that language to is I make money by serving clients and doing what's right for them. Because real estate, any type of sales, it's a relationship business, and that's how I view it. And I want to treat those relationships, I want my clients to be clients for life, and I want you to refer all of your friends and family to me. And so, I'm going to make sure that I help you purchase a property right, and it's a great investment, and you're happy with it, long term down the road there. So those are your lessons for November. This was a last little piece here that I thought I would share, because I was on a coaching call this morning and we were kind of joking, and we're like, how every realtor says it's always a good time to buy. And, I don't subscribe to that mentality. I do subscribe to the mindset of that there's always great opportunities in any market, but that doesn't mean those opportunities are the right ones for you. And so I saw this post by Dave Ramsey this morning, and he says, if you're thinking about buying or selling a house right now, hear me on this. The headlines don't get a vote in your life. Your readiness does. And I thought that was so well said, because there's so much in the news. And I say that all the time. There's so much in the news about, this and that. And the news, they are incentivized by headlines and by clickbait and by, the negative. They're not incentivized by giving you this objective view on both sides of the argument. And I think that's where a trusted professional comes in, and I can help you understand your specific situation and how it relates to what's going on in the current market. It says home prices, mortgage rates, the Fed, nobody can time this stuff perfectly and you shouldn't try. The best time to buy a house is when you are financially ready, not when the market is pushing it in your face or a pushy salesperson is pushing it in your face. If you're a home buyer this fall, this market is actually working in your favor. He does say homes are sitting longer, like I said. Um, but I just thought, from a very trusted professional, something that I talk about all the time is that you have to be ready. And what does being ready mean? How do you know when you're ready? When I sit down with home buyers for a consult to really figure out that, have that initial conversation, ask, what are your goals? What are you using real estate to help you try and accomplish? Real estate, whether you're looking at it as an investment, whether it's a first property, it's a stepping ladder, it's a family home, like what are you using it? You have to clarify your goals of why you are doing something. It can't just be like, well, the market says I should get in. There's a lot of home buyer incentives. The market's slow, so I feel like I should get in. If that's your reasoning, you're gonna have a tough time, and there might be some regret down the line if you're not clear on your goals. So that'd be the first thing. And then the second thing is clarify your resources, because you may have these really great goals, but if you don't have the resources to match the goals, it's going to be a frustrating situation. So figuring out the resources. Have you spoke to a mortgage broker? Do you understand your mortgage options? Do you have a down payment? Do you have a monthly budget? And that's something I always explain to clients too, is it's all well and great that you're pre-approved for something, but you need to make sure that you're okay with the monthly budget. Especially some of the first time home buyers I work with, and they're living with their parents right now, and it's a great situation because you're banking money left and right, and it's a great scenario. So you all of a sudden go from kind of no bills or very little bills to, I have a mortgage payment, I have to pay for property taxes, I have to pay strata fees. It can be very overwhelming. So you want to make sure that you understand your budget. What is like achieving this goal going to look like in my life in the next 6 months to a year? You don't want to be house poor. We've all heard that term. And then the last thing is speaking with a realtor, speaking with someone that you trust, somebody that's going to truly act as your advisor, not just push a bunch of properties in your face and, say, do you want to buy this one? It's the right time. Here's why buying is better than renting, and just kind of shoving that information in your face. And if you don't choose to work with me, that's fair. This is all free resources for everyone. But make sure that whoever you're working with has your best interest. They've actually given you kind of both sides of the situation and helped you figure out your goals and guiding you to accomplish your goals there. So thanks so much for tuning in this month. If you guys have certain questions, I would love for you to put them in the comments and I will answer them next month. If there's things that you are thinking about or have questions about the market or situations that you're in, I would love for you to share them and I can touch on them next month. And if you have any questions about the real estate market or considering making a move, again, all my info is in the description box below. Tap the bell to be the first to hear what's going on, and please subscribe. Share this with a friend that's considering making a move as well. I would be so grateful, and I will see you guys all next month.